Imagine being born into extreme poverty, growing up in a tiny cabin with 11 brothers and sisters, and having a father who never learned to read or write. Now imagine that same child growing up to become one of the most successful country music stars in history, write thousands of songs, build a massive entertainment empire, and give millions of children free books. That was Dolly Parton. And now, at 80 years old, the woman who seemed almost larger than life is gone. Dolly Parton died on August 25, 2026, in Nashville, Tennessee, her family announced. Her death brought an immediate wave of grief across the music and entertainment world. She had spent more than 6 decades entertaining generations, but behind the blonde hair, sparkling clothes, and unforgettable smile was a story that began in one of America's poorest rural communities. Dolly was born on January 19, 1946, in the Great Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. She was the fourth of 12 children born to Robert Lee Parton and Avi Lee Parton. Her father worked hard as a farmer, laborer, and tradesman. But there was something he could not do. He could not read or write. He had been forced to leave school as a child because his family needed him to work. Dolly never forgot that. In fact, something that could have remained a painful family memory eventually inspired one of the greatest charitable projects of her life. Her mother, Avi Lee, was the heart of the household. She raised 12 children while passing down music, stories, and Appalachian traditions. And music was everywhere. Dolly began performing as a child, eventually appearing on radio and television programs while still very young. By the time she graduated from Sevier County High School in 1964, she already knew exactly what she wanted. She wanted Nashville. The day after graduating, Dolly moved to Nashville to pursue music. But what happened next would change country music forever. Her breakthrough came through her songwriting and her partnership with Porter Wagoner. Dolly became a major star, but she eventually wanted to prove that she could succeed on her own. And she did. Songs such as Jolene, 9 to 5, and I Will Always Love You became part of her extraordinary legacy. Reuters reports that Parton sold more than 100 million records and won 11 Grammy Awards during her career. But one song became especially remarkable. I Will Always Love You. Dolly wrote and recorded the song herself before Whitney Houston later transformed it into a global phenomenon for the Bodyguard soundtrack. Dolly had written the song. Whitney made it a worldwide anthem. And Dolly's reaction to Whitney's success showed something important about her. She understood that another artist's success with her song did not diminish her own achievement. Instead, it expanded her legacy. But Dolly's life wasn't only about music. Her love story was remarkably different from the celebrity relationships that often dominate Hollywood headlines. In 1964, when Dolly was only 18, she met Carl Dean. 2 years later, they married. Unlike many celebrity marriages, theirs remained remarkably private. Carl largely stayed away from the spotlight while Dolly became one of the most recognizable women in the world. They remained married for almost 6 decades, until Carl died in March 2025. Dolly later spoke about how difficult it was to adjust to life without him. But perhaps the most surprising part of Dolly's story wasn't her fame. It was what she chose to do with it. In 1995, Dolly launched the Imagination Library in her home county of Sevier County, Tennessee. The idea was simple. Give children books. Every month. For free. The inspiration came directly from her father, who had never learned to read or write. Dolly wanted children to have opportunities that her father never had. What started as a project in her hometown eventually became a worldwide literacy program. By 2025, the organization said it had gifted more than 300 million books to children, and the program continued expanding in 2026. That may be one of the most beautiful contradictions in Dolly Parton's story. Her father couldn't read, so his daughter helped put hundreds of millions of books into the hands of children. But Dolly also became a mentor and inspiration to younger generations. One of the most famous examples was Miley Cyrus. Dolly became Miley's godmother and appeared alongside her on Hannah Montana. Their relationship allowed an older country legend and a young Disney star to share something much bigger than a television screen. Dolly became an example of how someone could achieve enormous fame without completely losing their identity. And that may explain why Dolly remained so beloved. She never completely abandoned the girl from Tennessee. She carried her childhood with her. The poverty, the family, the music, the mountains, the dreams. Even after becoming an international celebrity, Dolly continued to speak proudly about where she came from. And then there was Jolene. For millions of fans, that song became the sound most closely associated with Dolly Parton. But her legacy is much bigger than one song. It is thousands of songs, movies, television, Dollywood, business ventures, charity, and generations of artists who looked at Dolly and saw proof that extraordinary success did not require forgetting where you started. Now she is gone at 80. Her family has not publicly disclosed a specific cause of death, so claims about a particular illness or medical condition should not be presented as fact. What is known is that Dolly Parton has died, and the world is now beginning to measure the enormous space she leaves behind. She arrived in Nashville as a young woman with a dream. She left behind a career that changed country music, a love story that lasted nearly 60 years, and a charitable legacy that put books into the hands of millions of children. Perhaps that is the most remarkable thing about Dolly Parton. She started life in a home where there was very little. And somehow, she spent the rest of her life giving people more. More music, more hope, more laughter, and more dreams. Dolly Parton was not simply a country music star. She became part of American culture. And for millions of people, she will always be remembered as the girl from the Smoky Mountains who dreamed big enough for the whole world.